Hello, hope whoever's watching this is doing okay. Okay, hopping right in. So for the first question regarding the quote on page 225, how is the supply chain hidden and what is it hiding? On page 225, Lore says, the simplifications of commodity, its selective abstraction, and filtering of a reality change not only how goods are bought and sold, but also how they are created to begin with. He was going on the previous page about how, this whole creation of commodities has created a system where people don't even question where things are coming from because it's so easy to obtain, right? He says on page 24, a bucket of trash fish becomes protein content alone. The details that are excluded, perhaps the place of origin of that apple or the precise species of that fish in the bucket. So he's saying what they're hiding are, the small processes such as like where the products are coming from, how the products are being, handled, who is messing with the products, who's touching the products. And really it all comes down to, the marketing, right? People just see the marketing and they see the product, they see the commodity, and they don't really care where it comes from, right? And so this creates this whole system where, people don't care about sustainability. They don't care how it affects farm life. They don't care how it affects other. Alrighty, now moving on to the second question. How does this section highlight the importance of systems thinking? And what do you think the best ways are to effect this system? So Lore, he talks about in this section, the growing coercion and just the exploitation that goes on in the background that nobody knows, right, in the supply chain. How a lot of the commodities that we use a lot of the times come from places of coercion where people are forced into labor or in some way abused, right? And that's when he says, in many ways, the horror is so vast that it risks overwhelming anyone who learns about it. And then he goes on talking on page 250. He says, and so Humanity United did something unusual. Rather than plow in and fund direct action, it began to strategize. So instead of just immediately trying to expose them, they decided to first look into it. And it says here that the first decision was to focus on forced labor. So instead of tackling all the problems within this system, they decided to focus on forced labor, highlighting the importance of systems thinking. And then he says how they narrowed down the search to just a few commodities that, would affect the United States the most, the commodities that would surprise people the most and would get people to rise up the most, because they can't create change themselves, and what they need is people who to help them and to get to publicize it, right? And so to affect the system, I think the best approaches are, to involve policy reforms that regulate unethical practices. Those would be great, and then like reinforcing, for example, like business accountability in some way to make sure that businesses aren't taking advantage of people. And then I think a big one also, and I think a big point that Lore was making here, as I was saying, is really using consumer awareness, right? Because a lot of the problem is people don't know what's going on in the supply chain. So once people find out just how horrific it is, of course they might just want to forget it and not even worry about it because they can't do much, but just getting it out there will help. Thank you.